Welcome to our newest in episodes of the Showbox Sires series, The Evolution of the Great Cow, on the Dairy Voice podcast through Dairy Business. Always a pleasure to introduce our next Showbox Sires bulls through this system. We love telling the stories of our bulls and having the people to tell those stories on with us. Today, we're introducing our newest bull at Select Sires that will be released very soon. 744 HO 18070 Alonzo Red. He is a very exciting bull in the red business, and we are thrilled to have Mike Duckett, my partner in Showbox Sires, here to help us talk about the bull. And also a good friend of ours that we're anxious to introduce to the program for the first time is Jeff Benedict from Southern Pennsylvania. Jeff, welcome to the podcast. We're excited to have Jeff. Known he and his family for a long time. Jeff currently works for Premier Select Sires in a sales role in, I believe, Franklin County-ish, Pennsylvania. I'll let you tell more about it. But Jeff has been passionate about breeding cows his entire life, as has his family. And Mike and I decided it would be a great idea to have Jeff on to talk to us about how he feels this bull can impact the red business. So, Jeff, we're going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about your history, who you are, what you've done. Let us learn a little bit about Jeff Benedict.
First of all, just thank you and Mike for having me on. I've listened to all these podcasts, and it's a bit of a thrill for me to be on here with you two. I grew up on my family's registered Guernsey farm, which is actually about a mile from where I'm sitting right now. And that is where I fell in love with dairy cattle through 4-H and FFA. Was very involved in all the Pennsylvania junior Guernsey breeder things that they had going on. That was a big deal for me when I was growing up. Later on in my older teenage years and early 20s, I was a bit of a cattle fitter. And I would go over to the Lancaster Guernsey barn over in Lancaster, and I would fit the cattle that came in for the Guernsey sales. And I also did some Holstein sales that were run by Remsburg. So that's where I kind of learned how to handle clippers. So I met, who is now my wife, Gail, at the National Guernsey Convention in Pittsburgh. It's going to be like 1987, 86. In there, Gail was working the convention for the Guernsey Journal. It was her first job out of college. And we met and hit it off pretty well and were married shortly after that. Gail then moved to New York State, where she took a job as the editor of the New York Holstein News, which eventually turned into a position with Holstein World, where she was an advertising marketing manager. I followed her and took a job with Sire Power as a district sales manager in central New York. So I had an area from Watertown to Binghamton and everything in between. And all that was new business for Sire Power, is when they were expanding their territory, and every driveway that I pulled in was a cold call. So Gail and I both loved what we did, but we did still have that passion. We wanted to start our own dairy, and we kind of privately had a 5-year plan to do so. And it took us 9 years, but we got there and we started Lake Effect Holsteins in 1996. And we ran our Lake Effect Holsteins for 13 years. And we were really blessed to be able to raise our kids when they were little there on the farm, and we did our best to take good care of the cattle. We sold a few bulls into AI, had some high scoring cows, and just really enjoyed developing pedigrees and learning the Holstein business. And it was a thrill to do it. In the spring of 2009, we decided to have a milking herd dispersal, and we sold the cows, and then with some soul searching, decided to sell the farm in the fall. We brought our 56 heifers here to Southern Pennsylvania, and I went to work for Ricecrest Dairy as their herdsman, and they were gracious enough to take in those 56 heifers and help me to continue to work on that Lake Effect prefix there. In 2014, I decided that I wanted to get back into AI, and I started looking around for a position in this area. And I found one with Premier Select Sires, and that's what I'm doing currently. I'm the area sales manager here in southern Pennsylvania, and I do have 2 counties in Maryland as well. Gail is currently working for Holstein USA, and we have a small farmette here where we still have 10 to 12 heifers that we like to take care of and show and try to develop into something that does well for us at state and national shows. And we also take some heifers out for Ricecrest still. We still have a great relationship with them. They let us pick out a few heifers, and we've gotten a couple of all Pennsylvanias for them, and we just really enjoy doing that with them and for them. And that's where we're at now.
I'm into pedigrees, Mike, just like you are, and that's a pretty doggone good pedigree. But there's a couple things that are, Jeff, this may insult you, but a couple things that you've done just like Mike and I. First of all, Sharon, my wife, was with the Guernsey Journal when we were first married. So we both married a lady that was involved with the Guernsey Journal. You, a Southern boy like Mike, went to the Midwest and found yourself a wife, which I'd say worked out quite well for both of you. But honestly, for me, your story of Ricecrest, I know what good friends you are with Dale and Fred and the family, and you kind of grew up just down the road from them. And such a neat story to come full circle back to Ricecrest. But, Jeff, I would tell anybody in this business the reason Tim Abbott is because of Ricecrest. Dale and Fred made me who I am. I was a young sire analyst who might not have known exactly what I was doing, buying Holstein bulls, and I walked in there and found some of the greatest people I ever worked with. Martha and Faye and Southwind K and all those great cows that have kind of cut the course for great breeding. It's neat for me to see that, Mike, how cool would it be to get a Showbox bull from Ricecrest someday?
That would be.
I think, Jeff, that is your task. Isn't it cool that they've always had cows that could compete at the next level? And Jeff, you've kind of done that with them. So.
Yeah, it seems they're just one generation away.
The good news is, Jeff, if you tell Dale if he'll use enough of our bulls, we'll get him there. So, Jeff, I appreciate your story. And the reason you're on this podcast with us is, one, you do have a passion for this particular bull. But I think you bring a lot of insight to breeders because you, like Mike and I, love to sit around on the Showbox and talk about how to breed cattle. And that's how Showbox Sires was started. As you've seen the development of Showbox Sires, tell us a little bit about what it's meant in your world and your business to your customers.
Well, I guess I just really feel like I'm blessed to be able to have another lineup like Showbox. Obviously, the Showbox thing really resonates with Gailey and I. My family vacations were the county fair. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on Showboxes. It's a little bit different for everybody, but it always the same thing in the end, right? But it's just been really exciting. Adding that diversity to the lineup that I have to offer my customers, and just to be able to give them another option and also show them some of these great cows that you guys are working with. It's very exciting.
Good. Well, we appreciate the kind words and all your support. Mike, you're chomping at the bit. Alonzo's a bull that you and I worked pretty hard to create and try to make something different in the red business. Tell us, our listeners, a little bit the story behind Alonzo, if you would.
A couple of years back at Expo, it was Red Show Day, and we got the call there was a nice Junior 2 down in our barn. And by the time we got there, we ended up partnered up with 2 or 3 people, but bought her just before the class. And I guess we loved her as an individual, but then when we realized she went back to Aideen and that family back and the sires in her pedigree, and she had some genomic type, it made an easy call to buy her. And then she went on to win her class at Expo and probably was one of the most talked about young cows that day. Just a beautiful balanced cow, lots of wit. Brought her home. She ended up max scoring just a few weeks past Expo, and cow that we've sold a lot of embryos and then ended up selling her. I think this guy's still moving a lot of embryos from her. So kind of an all-around cow. She's got a beautiful pedigree and outstanding individual.
Mike, a little more to that story. I remember going down to write the check for the cow while you were running to the bathroom to change into your whites to show the cow. And glad we did it that way because we got the cow bought and you led the cow into the first spot in that 2-year-old class at Madison. And there was quite a buzz about the cow that year, wasn't there?
Yeah, no, she was quite a cow. Like, a lot of people was saying it could end up someday being a cow that would stand out in the middle of the ring.
And, I would say to the cow's defense, the cow has never calved again. When you own a cow like this, Jeff, as you know and you've seen over the time, you have to make a decision. Are you going to calve the cow back in and what's best for the cow, or are you going to fill the bank account? And frankly, Mike, we didn't have, it wasn't our vision to not ever breed this cow back, but there was so much interest in embryos and offspring out of the cow that we kind of decided to put some money back in the tank. That's kind of what we had to do, and that's what happened, isn't it?
Yep.
As we move on, Jeff, as you look at the pedigree, tell me a few things that really stick out to Jeff Benedict when you see this pedigree of this cow.
So yeah, when I think about selling a bull like Alonzo, I really like the assurance of the Starbuck Ada family. I've been admiring and respecting that family for generations, really decades, and it's just really nice to have that kind of cow power behind the bull, the high scores. Bulls like Aftershock and Atwood, and I also like the fact that he's sired by Historic. Historic really didn't have a big impact in my sales area for my red breeders, so it's really exciting for me to be able to offer them a Historic son, and also to bring the Halo family into some of the reds. I'm obviously able to do that with Dax as well. But it's nice to have another option there, being that he is a Historic. And also, I really love the fact that the dam is a dice. And he also had limited impact because of his semen availability. And it's nice to be able to offer that on the maternal side, to bring dice into that, to bring the lucky breeding in there. And the fact that he's, not an apple.
Jeff and Mike, one thing people don't realize about Dice, number one, he is one of the most sought after bulls to get semen on in the business right now. But it's the A family from Lucky, and that's a big deal, right, Mike? You've been to Lucky several times, and they've got several great families. But boy, going back through Australia and Asia and all those cows, we had a pretty good bull from that family recently.
Yeah, and the Diamondback Dam of Dice was quite a young cow, and won some shows over there. And I guess with the Mollingberg and stuff, that limited the amount of semen that could get back to the U.S. Some pretty famous cow families, top and bottom, on that pedigree.
Well, and a little more about a couple bulls in the pedigree. We've talked about Dice and Historic and how neat they are, but also Daniel was kind of a unique bull in himself, because in my former world, he was a bull we created for our program, and we used Uno on top of the Destry Danielle cow that went on to be 95 points and nominated, all that goes back to Apple way back in the pedigree. But that bull, much like Devour, has been a bull that you love to see in a pedigree. And then I would also comment, the Dorman in this pedigree won a national show as a 2-year-old. She won the spring show as a 2-year-old. And then the cow behind her was a Gillette Jordan that Scotty Lang made in Vermont bred. And she would have topped Scotty Langmaid's sale when she was a 2-year-old. One of those big, black, beautiful, Black Star looking Jordans. And then you go right back to Allure and Atlee and Ada. So, when you think about that, Jeff, there's so many different things in this pedigree that are unique for a red bull. And I think the thing that we're so excited about with the bull, these bulls have not been overused. When you talk about the first 3 bulls in the sire stack, they're not bulls that fill every barn and every pedigree. So, Jeff, you've talked about the cow family a little bit. You're anxious to get using the bull making matings. I know you want to use them in the Lake Effect program. What is it about his numbers that really intrigue you? I know you like the family, but on paper, he's got some unique things as well.
Yeah, so as I broke the linears down, both the U.S. linear and the Canadian linear, sometimes I like to look at those Canadian linears because they give you a little more definition in some of the areas. And I think he's going to be a bull that's going to moderate the size a little bit. I think they're going to have fantastic udders, especially the 4 udder. With the chest, he's showing deep in the rib and wide pins. So you got the wide chest, the wide pins. I would imagine they're going to be wide all the way back through the barrel. Hard tops, and I just think they're going to have all kinds of balance and style.
And Mike, Jeff brought up the width. When you look at this guy's linear chart, one of the things it really stands out to me is rump width. 3.54, I believe, on on rump width. I don't know that I've seen a bull like that for a while without them being tall. I mean, he's plus on stature, but 2.25 points. Mike, why do you think that is? I know you're
Well,
smiling. I think you've got an idea.
Well, I think those that seen the mother, she had a perfect rump and a mile wide. But when you start looking at this pedigree, the A family at Lucky, all of those cows are square built, straight lined, wide rumped. And I think that's where this bull's going to do a lot of good, because right now at the moment, width and strength is something, and width of chest is something that would complement a lot of the red blood right today.
And Jeff, you see lots of red cattle, have lots of customers with red cattle. Mike and I kind of see it as width of the front end and the rump and all that is an issue. Do you see that in your own world?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe not so much in the commercial setting with some of the red cattle, but definitely with some of my customers that do some showing, there seems to be a lot of leg, and with that comes not as much width in the front end.
When you look at his linear, Mike, you studied linears a lot, and part of the reason his rear udders are so good is because there's room for him, right? When everything from his leg structure to his rear udder width and height.
You got to have somewhere to put that rear udder, and with all that width, they've got the capacity to have a tremendous udder.
And while this bull is not going to be a milk specialist, as you would expect, he's real close to zero when you evaluate his milk, which is for a red bull, which is a real plus. Mike, the other thing that I think, and Jeff, you say you look at them too, you look at a lot of Canadian data on cattle and cows and bulls, Mike, as we find bull mothers. This bull is 13 for conformation, 13 for udders or mammary, and 13 for dairy strength. How unique is that? And for either of you, Jeff, I'll start with you. You look at this a lot.
Yeah, I really like that combination. It is rare, for no doubt.
And Mike, your thoughts on why that's so important?
If you think about this whole cow family, all the way back to Ada, they breed consistent, and the way this bull's linears and the way his Canadian numbers are points right to consistency and width, depth, strength, and tremendous udders. He's getting all these numbers honest.
Well, it's funny, guys, when you think back to Starbuck Ada and then on down the road, then you go to Adine and Alicia. Those cows were monstrous wide cows, right? Like one of the things I would remember most about Adine or Alicia was the width coming at you and going away from you. How many generations down the road has this followed true? That's pretty unique, isn't it? Where this all comes from in the pedigree is more true than ever. So, Jeff, we wrap up this talk. One of the biggest things that makes a difference with bulls is what do you use them on daughters of? And Mike and I, we probably get asked more of that than anything else. How do I use this bull? As you evaluate him, like what sire groups and pedigrees are you going to promote him to with your customers?
Yeah, so in my area, there's obviously plenty of warriors. We sold a lot of that bull, and obviously I think he's a good complement for them. Altitudes as well. There's lots of Hulus, and they really could use this bull as well. The Hulus are so long frame and stylish and long neck, but really need to be widened out in the front end, and he would be a perfect match for them. Also, there's some Moran bloodlines around too, and they're kind of built the same way. Also, we have a lot of Trentway bulls at Premier Select Sires. One of those bulls was Rompin. My customers used Rompin to outcross their apple bloodlines. And I do see the Rompins as being really milky cattle, but they could use some strength as well. And I think he could cross well on the Rompins. Also, I see a number of Dorals around, and they're built very similarly, very long framed, long legs, and they're in need of some width as well. So I think he could be used well on the Dorals as well.
Wow, that's a great list, Mike. We need to write that down for Mike's mating. We'll poach from you a little, Jeff. Mike, other thoughts? He is over 3 points a type, which is very unique for a Red Bull in this phase of life, but still doesn't get you only a 2.25 points for type. How do you think the bull needs to be used?
Well, certainly I get asked to judge quite a few shows around the world, and the one thing that's kind of my pet peeve is I like heifers that are wide fronted and track straight on their front legs. And right at the moment, there's a little bit of a problem in the red breed in that department. And I think with this bull, he could correct that. He's going to widen them out, straighten them up over their top lines, put a lot of width through their rump. They should have tremendous mammary systems because the dam had a great udder, and that family has bred great udders for generations. And I just feel that he could be a big player in the business on making beautiful red cows.
And Mike, we're going right at him. We're ready to start IVF and some of our best cattle to him, black and white and red and white, because we really think he is what the show ring probably needs.
With him moderating his stature and putting width to him, and as we've said from the word go, Tim, we're not looking to make smaller cows. We're just looking to make more balanced cows, and we just want to bring their stature down. But we still need the width and the depth, the wide-chested cows that can put on a tremendous udder, and that's what's going to make all the dairymen happy.
Well, I think this has been a great discussion. I think it's been really good information for our listeners. I know people love to listen to this as they drive in their pickup trucks or around on their tractors spreading manure, or at night when they're watching Sports Center and don't want to listen about which NFL coach just got fired. Jeff, I'm going to give you one last parting shot. Any thoughts about the future of this bull, and give our listeners one more tidbit of info from your perspective, which I think is unique, Jeff, because you're a breeder and you're a sales manager in the business. Your ultimate job, Jeff, in sales is to keep your customers happy and get them what they want.
Yeah, and I think probably, the best advice I could give using any bull is, it seems like it's a little bit of a lost art, is to, make sure your matings are, matching well, strengths and weaknesses. The world we live in, where it's the Bull of the Month Club, sometimes we need to slow down a little bit and just be a little more thoughtful about our matings and match them up a little better. And I think this bull was very timely for the Reds, and he'll do us some good. You guys just need to get me some semen.
Well, they tell me he's producing, and we're getting close, Jeff. The minute we have some out there, we really are pushing to get this bull released well before the March breeding deadlines to make December calves. The good news is Select Sires production team is the best in the world, and I have no question we'll have semen soon, but not soon enough for many people. Mike, any final thoughts from you as we wrap this up?
I've got confidence in this bull and the cow family, being that he's got tremendous cows on top and bottom, and another bull that we're excited to see the calves come in the next year or so, and hopefully we'll have some to brag about.
Well, this has been great. This wraps up our conversation about our new release bull from Showbox Sires through the Select Sires program, 744 HO 18070 Alonzo Red. Again, he should be ready to be released and in your tanks, so you can make yourself some pretty December calves, black or red, coming up. The bull boasts over 3 points its height, and as the guys have said, with a huge cow family and a unique sire stack behind him. He also crosses the border in Canada and gives you 13s on conformation, udder, and dairy strength, which is unique. And the bull should cross well on so many different populations of red and black cattle. So we thank you for listening to this edition of our new release program. It's been fun sitting on the Showbox with Jeff Benedict from Pennsylvania and Mike Duckett. Thank you for listening.